The morning sky turned dark over New York City. People stopped walking and looked up. Giant ships blocked the sun. They were bigger than any building humans had ever made. The same thing was happening all over the world. In London, Tokyo, Sydney, and every major city, people stared at the sky in fear. Susan Miller was drinking coffee in her small apartment when her phone rang. The voice on the other end was serious. "Ms. Miller, this is General Harris. We need you at the Pentagon right now." Susan put down her coffee and looked out the window. She could see one of the massive ships hovering over Washington, D.C. Her hand did not shake. Her breathing stayed calm. But inside, her mind was racing faster than normal people's could. "I'll be there in 20 minutes, she said. Susan had been a diplomat for 15 years. She had talked to angry terrorists, cruel dictators, and people who wanted to start wars. She always stayed calm because of something special about her body. When normal people got scared, their hearts beat fast and they couldn't think clearly. When Susan got scared, her body made extra chemicals that helped her think even better than usual. The streets were filled with panicked people as Susan drove to the Pentagon. Some were running. Others were frozen in place, staring at the ships. Police tried to keep order, but it was hard when they were just as scared as everyone else. At the Pentagon, the biggest military leaders in America sat around a large table. Their faces showed fear, but they tried to hide it. "The aliens have knocked out most of our weapons," General Harris told Susan when she arrived. "They used some kind of energy pulse that stopped our missiles, planes, and communication systems from working. We can't fight back." President Clark joined the meeting through a special phone line that still worked. "They've asked to talk to us. They want one person to represent Earth. We've picked you, Susan." Susan nodded. This was why they needed her. She could stay calm when talking to the aliens, even when scared. "What do we know about them?" she asked. "Almost nothing," said Dr. Paul Jones, the top scientist at the meeting. "They call themselves the Galactic Consortium. They say they come in peace, but the way they disabled our defenses doesn't feel peaceful." 2 hours later, Susan stood in an open field outside the city. The smallest of the alien ships lowered from the sky. It was still as big as a football field. A door opened, and 3 tall figures walked out. The aliens were about 7 feet tall with blue-gray skin. They had 4 arms and walked on 2 legs. Their faces had large eyes that changed color as they looked around. They wore no spacesuits, which meant they could breathe Earth's air. "I am High Commander Zex Terrell," said the tallest alien. Its voice sounded both deep and musical. "We welcome Earth to the Galactic Consortium." Susan stepped forward. "I am Susan Miller, representing the people of Earth. We are surprised by your arrival, but open to peaceful talks." The aliens looked at each other. One of them held up a small device that glowed green. "Your body shows unusual calmness," said Zex Terrell. "Most species show fear when we arrive." "We are a curious people," Susan replied. "We've wondered about life beyond our planet for centuries." The aliens invited Susan onto their ship. Inside, the walls seemed alive, changing colors and patterns. They entered a room with a round table made of something that looked like glass but felt warm. "The Galactic Consortium includes 317 species from 1,246 planets," explained Zex Terrell. "We bring peace, order, and advanced technology to all worlds. We visit." Susan noticed that the alien said visit, not discover or meet. It was a small but important difference. "And what do you want from Earth?" she asked. The second alien placed a small cube on the table. It projected a 3D map of Earth with certain areas glowing blue. "Your planet has more water than most worlds." "We know," said Zex Terrell. "We need water for our colonies. In exchange for joining the consortium, we will take only 30% of your oceans and lakes." Susan kept her face calm, but her special ability kicked in. Her mind worked faster than normal as she processed this information. They weren't asking. They were telling. "That would cause massive damage to our ecosystems," she said. "Our planet depends on its water balance." The third alien stepped forward. "We will also require all nuclear weapons to be handed over. Your species is too young to have such dangerous tools." Now Susan understood. This wasn't a friendly visit. It was the start of an invasion. "I need to discuss these terms with Earth's Leaders, she said, how much time can you give us to consider? The aliens looked surprised. Other planets must have agreed quickly, maybe out of fear. You have 48 of your Earth hours, said Zexaterral. We are being generous. Most worlds receive only 12 hours to accept our terms. Back on Earth, Susan met with world leaders in an emergency meeting. She explained the aliens' demands. They want our water and our ability to defend ourselves, she said. They call it joining their consortium, but it's really making us helpless. Can we fight them? Asked the Russian president. Not directly, Susan replied. Their technology is far beyond ours, but I noticed something interesting. They can sense emotions, but they seemed confused by me. My unusual brain chemistry might give us an advantage. Susan didn't tell the leaders about the secret call she had received from a man named Dr. Alan Wright on her way to the meeting. He had told her about something called Project Prometheus, a plan made years ago in case aliens ever came to Earth. Come to the facility under the Rocky Mountains, he had told her. We have something that might help. As the world leaders argued about what to do, Susan quietly left the meeting. She had less than 40 hours to find a way to save Earth. The aliens expected her to return with an answer: surrender or face destruction. What the aliens didn't know was that humans had been preparing for this day for a long time. And Susan Miller was not just a diplomat. She was about to become something much more dangerous. Susan's small plane landed at a hidden airstrip in the Rocky Mountains. The trip had taken 3 hours. 3 hours less time to save Earth. As she stepped out, cold mountain air hit her face. A man with messy gray hair and thick glasses waited for her. Ms. Miller? I'm Dr. Alan Wright. Thank you for coming. He spoke quickly, like someone with too many thoughts trying to get out at once. We don't have much time. They got into a jeep and drove toward what looked like a normal mountain. But when they got close, a hidden door opened in the rock. The jeep drove inside into a tunnel lit by bright white lights. What is this place? Susan asked, looking at the smooth tunnel walls. Project Prometheus, Alan said. 30 years ago, when I was still a young scientist, I found something strange in a radio signal from space. It was a warning from another species. They told us that the Galactic Consortium wasn't what it seemed. The tunnel ended in a large cave. Inside were labs, computers, and about 50 people working fast. Some wore lab coats, others military uniforms. They all looked worried. The world's governments didn't believe me, Alan continued. But a few important people did. They gave me money and this secret place to prepare for the day the consortium would come. Susan followed Alan to a round table with screens built into it. He touched one screen and a picture of the alien ships appeared. We know more about the consortium than they think, he said. They've visited 1,146 planets, but they've destroyed over 200 that didn't agree to their terms. They don't want partners. They want resources and slaves. Susan's face stayed calm, but inside her special brain chemistry was working fast. So what can we do? Their technology is far beyond ours. Alan smiled. It wasn't a happy smile, but the smile of someone who had planned for a very bad day. That's where you come in. We need you to go back and keep talking to them. Keep them thinking we might agree to their terms. Buy us time. Time for what? Susan asked. Alan took a deep breath. This is the hard part. When you first met with them, did they scan you with a small green device? Susan remembered the glowing green object. Yes. They said they were checking my emotional state. They were. But they were also checking your biology. Alan picked up a small metal box from the table. Inside was a syringe filled with clear liquid. Every diplomat who might meet aliens has already been injected with special nanites. Tiny, machines smaller than a cell. Mine are a bit different than the standard ones. Susan's eyes widened. You put something in my body without telling me? It was part of your regular government physical 5 years ago, Alan said, looking a bit ashamed. I'm sorry for the secret, but we couldn't risk the consortium finding out. Susan tried to stay calm, which was easier for her than most people. What do these nanites do? Right now, They're just collecting information about the aliens, their biology, their weaknesses, but if needed, they can do more. Alan looked at the screens, avoiding her eyes. We call it the diplomatic failsafe. If peaceful talks don't work, the nanites can turn a human diplomat into a biological weapon. The room went quiet. Even the scientists stopped working to watch Susan's reaction. You're saying I could explode? Susan asked, her voice surprisingly steady. Not exactly explode. The nanites would release compounds that are harmless to humans but deadly to the consortium's biology. It would happen fast. The aliens around you would be affected first, then it would spread through their ships, air systems. Susan sat down. For the first time in her life, her special calmness almost failed her. You want me to be a suicide bomber? Alan shook his head. We don't know if it would kill you. It might just change you. And it's the absolute last option. We only use it if all else fails and Earth is about to be destroyed. A woman in a lab coat approached them. We're tracking the alien ships. They've started setting up water extraction equipment in the Pacific Ocean. They're not waiting for your answer. Susan closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, she had made her decision. Tell me what I need to do. For the next few hours, the scientists and military experts taught Susan everything they knew about the consortium. They showed her pictures from secret satellites that had been watching the alien ships. The consortium had already started taking water from the deepest parts of the oceans. They always start small, Alan explained. Then they take more and more until the planet can't support life anymore. They've done this hundreds of times. Susan learned about the nanites in her body. The scientists gave her a small device that looked like a normal watch. If you press these buttons together for 5 seconds, Alan showed her, it will activate the nanites. Only do this if there's no other choice. As Susan prepared to leave, Alan gave her one more piece of information. You won't be alone this time. We're sending Greg Foster with you. He looks like a normal assistant, but he's actually our best technical expert. He'll try to gather more information about their ships while you're talking. Greg was a young man, with kind eyes and a serious face. I'll do everything I can to help, he told Susan. I have the nanites too. We both know the risks. Susan nodded. The weight of the world was on her shoulders, but somehow that made her calmer. Her special ability worked best under extreme pressure. As they prepared to return to meet the aliens, Alan handed Susan a small earpiece. This will let us talk to you secretly. The aliens won't detect it. Susan looked at Greg, then at the mountain base full of Earth's last hope. The aliens think they know what humans are like, she said. They think we're weak and will give up easily. They're about to learn how wrong they are. With less than 10 hours left before the aliens' deadline, Susan and Greg left the mountain base, ready to face the consortium again. This time they had a secret weapon. Not just the nanites, but something the aliens would never expect. Humanity's will to survive no matter the cost. The alien ship hovered above New York City, casting a shadow over the United Nations building. Susan and Greg stood on the roof waiting. Susan checked her watch, the one that could activate the nanites inside her body. She hoped she would never have to use it. Are you ready? She asked Greg. He nodded, touching the small bag he carried. Inside were devices made by Project Prometheus that might help them learn more about the aliens. As ready as I'll ever be. A bright light came down from the ship surrounding them. Susan felt her body become light, and then they were moving upward. The ground got smaller below them as they floated up into the alien vessel. Hi, Commander. Zextarl waited for them in the same round room as before. 2 other aliens stood nearby, watching with their color-changing eyes. You have returned before the deadline, said Zextarl. This is good. Has Earth accepted our terms? Susan stepped forward, her face calm. Inside, her special ability was working overtime, helping her think faster than normal. We have some questions first, she said. Your terms would hurt our planet badly. Surely we can find a way that works for both our peoples. The aliens looked at each other. One made a sound like bubbling water, which Susan guessed was their version of laughter. Your species is in no position to ask for better terms, said Zex Terrell. You should be grateful we offer any choice at all. While Susan kept the aliens talking, Greg moved around the room. He pretended to look at the strange plants growing from the walls, but he was really placing tiny devices where the aliens wouldn't notice. What happens to the other worlds that join your consortium? Susan asked. Do they get a say in how things are run? Zex Terrell's eyes turned a dark purple. They contribute what is needed for the greater good. In return, they receive protection. Protection from what? Susan asked. Through her hidden earpiece, she could hear Alan from Project Prometheus listening to everything. The galaxy is dangerous, said Zex Terrell. Many species would take what they want by force. We at least offer terms. Susan noticed that one of the other aliens kept watching Greg. She needed to draw their attention back to her. How much water do you really need? Surely we can come to an agreement that doesn't damage our oceans. As she spoke, Greg finished placing the last device and returned to stand beside her. He gave a small nod, telling her the mission was done. The terms are not negotiable, said Zex Terrell, sounding annoyed. Your time is running out. Other planets accepted our offer within hours. Why does Earth resist? We're a stubborn species, Susan said with a small smile. We don't give up easily. The second alien stepped forward. Scans show unusual activity in the human male's bag. What devices has he brought aboard? Greg froze. Susan's heart beat faster, but her face stayed calm. Just communication tools, she said quickly. To talk with our leaders. Zex Terrell made a quick hand movement. The third alien walked to Greg and grabbed his bag. Inside were the devices, now blinking with small red lights. These are scanning our systems, Zex Terrell said angrily. You bring spying tools to peace talks? In her ear, Susan heard Alan's voice. The devices have collected enough data. Try to stay calm and keep them talking. We need to understand each other better, Susan said. You know much more about us than we know about you. Zex Terrell's eyes turned bright red. These talks are over. You have shown your true nature, deceptive and untrustworthy. The alien touched a control on the wall. A screen appeared, showing Earth from space. Several smaller alien ships were now positioned around the planet. We gave you a chance to join us peacefully, said Zex Terrell. Now we will take what we need without your agreement. On the screen, the smaller ships fired beams into the oceans. Huge columns of water began rising into space, sucked up by the alien technology. Stop, Susan shouted. You'll destroy our planet's balance. Your comfort is no longer our concern, said Zex Terrell. We have found that humans are too difficult to work with. Once we have your water, we will leave your kind to whatever fate awaits you. The alien turned to the others. Take the male for study. His scanning devices show interesting technology. The female can be returned to Earth to share the news of their failure. Guards entered the room. They grabbed Greg, who struggled against their four-armed grip. Susan, he called out. Plan B. Susan knew what he meant. The peaceful way had failed. Now they had to use the diplomatic failsafe, the nanites that would turn them into weapons against the aliens. She touched her watch, ready to press the buttons that would activate the nanites. But then she had an idea. If both she and Greg activated their nanites at the same time, in different parts of the ship, the effect might spread faster. I want to speak to my people one last time, she said to Zex Terrell, before you send me back. The alien seemed surprised by her calmness in the face of Earth's defeat. You may have 2 minutes to use your communication device. Susan pretended to talk into her phone, but really she was listening to Alan through her hidden earpiece. We've analyzed the data from Greg's devices, Alan said quickly. The alien's ships use a central air system. If you activate the nanites near it, the effect will spread to all their ships faster. Where is it? Susan whispered. Level 3, Central Core. There's a marking that looks like a blue spiral on the door. As the guards prepared to take Greg away, Susan made her move. She kicked one of the aliens hard in the leg where Greg's scanning had shown they were weaker. The alien fell back in surprise. Run! She shouted to Greg. They both ran for the door. The aliens were not ready for such A direct attack from the calm human diplomat. Susan and Greg made it into the hallway before the aliens could stop them. "Which way?" Greg asked as they ran. "Level 3, Central Core," Susan said. "Blue spiral marking. We need to get there before activating the nanites." Alarms began to sound throughout the ship. Strange lights flashed on the walls. The aliens were hunting them. As they ran through the confusing corridors of the alien ship, Susan realized that Earth's fate now depended on whether two humans could outsmart an entire alien fleet, and time was running out fast. Susan and Greg ran through the twisting halls of the alien ship. Red lights flashed around them, and a strange sound like a deep horn echoed everywhere. The aliens were looking for them. "We need to find stairs or an elevator," Greg said, breathing hard as they ran. They turned a corner and almost ran into two alien guards. The four-armed beings reached for them, but Susan had been trained in basic fighting. She ducked under their arms and kicked one hard in the middle. The alien fell back, surprised that a human would fight. Greg pushed past the second guard and they continued running. Through her earpiece, Susan could hear Alan from Project Prometheus giving directions. "Take the next left," he said. "Our scans show something like an elevator shaft there." They found what looked like a circle of light on the floor. When they stepped into it, the light surrounded them and they began to float downward. "This must be how they move between levels," Susan said. The light took them down to what must be level 3. When they stepped out, they saw aliens running toward them from both sides of the hallway. "There!" Greg pointed to a door with a blue spiral mark, just as Alan had described. "The central air system." They ran to the door, but it was locked. The aliens were getting closer. "Use your watch," Greg said. "The nanites might help us." Susan touched the buttons on her watch. She felt a strange warmth spread through her body. It started in her chest and moved to her arms and legs. Her skin began to tingle. "Are you feeling it?" she asked Greg. He nodded, looking at his hands, which had started to glow slightly. The nearest alien guard reached them and grabbed Susan's arm. The alien immediately let go as if burned. It looked at its hand, which had turned a strange gray color where it had touched her. "The nanites are working," Greg said. His voice sounded different, deeper, and with a slight echo. The alien guards backed away, saying something in their language. They seemed afraid now. Susan's body felt hot, like she had a fever. The nanites were changing her, just as Alan had warned. But she was still alive, still herself. She placed her hand on the door with the blue spiral. The metal began to melt under her touch. The door slid open, revealing a large room with glowing tubes running from floor to ceiling. This had to be the central air system that kept the ship's atmosphere clean. "We need to get inside," Susan said. Her skin was now glowing, with a soft blue light. "The nanites need to reach their air system." They stepped into the room. The effects of the nanites were growing stronger. Susan's hair floated around her head as if she were underwater. Greg's eyes had turned completely blue and glowed in the dim light. Through the tubes, Susan could see a gas moving. It was pale green and seemed to flow like water. This was the air that went to every part of the ship. "We need to release the nanites into the tubes," Greg said. Before they could figure out how to do this, the door behind them opened again. High Commander Zex Tarrell stood there with 6 guards. "What have you done to yourselves?" the alien leader asked, staying back from the glowing humans. "What humans always do when threatened," Susan replied. "We adapt." Zex Tarrell's eyes changed to a dark red color. "You have turned your bodies into weapons. This is not the action of a peaceful species." "You left us no choice," Susan said. "You came to our world, demanded our resources, and threatened our existence." The High Commander stepped forward, then stopped as one of the guards collapsed. The guard had gotten too close to Greg, and something in the air between them had affected the alien. "Your weapon will not save your planet," Zex Tarrell said. "Our ships are already taking your water. Even if you kill everyone on this ship, the others will continue." Susan smiled. The nanites had given her an idea. She could feel them communicating with her somehow, showing her what to do. "The consortium made a mistake," she said. "You studied human biology, but you didn't understand human determination." She walked toward one of the large tubes. The aliens moved back, afraid to stop her. When she touched the tube, her glowing hand passed through it as if it were made of fog. She put her arm into the green gas. Immediately, the gas began to change color, turning blue like her glowing skin. The change spread through the tube system, moving faster and faster. "What are you doing?" Zexterral demanded. "The nanites aren't just affecting us," Greg explained as he put his hand into another tube. "They're learning from the alien biology they encounter. They're creating a specific compound that affects your people but not humans." Susan could feel the nanites spreading through the ship's air system. On a screen on the wall, she could see other alien ships connected to the main one. The blue color was spreading to them too through the air connections between ships. "You should have researched Earth's history better," Susan told Zexiterral. "Humans have survived ice ages, plagues, and our own wars. We don't give up easily." The alien commander backed toward the door, watching as more guards fell to their knees, affected by the changing air. "Stop this," Zexiterral said. "We can negotiate new terms." "It's too late for that," Greg said. "Your ships are already taking our water. You've shown us what the consortium really wants." Susan felt strange, powerful, as if she were connected to something larger than herself. The nanites had changed her, but not destroyed her. They had made her into a bridge between human and alien biology. "Call off your ships," she told Zexterral. "Stop taking Earth's water. Leave our solar system and never return." The commander hesitated, then touched a control on its wrist. On the screen, Susan could see the smaller ships stopping their water collection. "This is not over," Zexiterral said. "The consortium has many ships, many worlds. What you've done here affects only a small part of our fleet. Then we've bought Earth sometime," Susan said. "And now your people know that humans aren't the easy target you thought we were." As the blue gas continued to spread through the ship's systems, Susan realized that she and Greg had changed the balance of power. The consortium had come expecting an easy victory. Instead, they had found that humans could turn even defeat into a weapon, and this was just the beginning of Earth's fight for survival. 3 days after the events on the alien ship, Susan woke up in a hospital bed. Her skin no longer glowed, but she felt different. The nanites had changed her in ways that the doctors were still trying to understand. Greg sat in a chair beside her bed, reading something on a tablet. He looked up when she moved. "Welcome back," he said with a smile. "You've been sleeping for a while." Susan tried to sit up. Her body felt stronger than before, but strange. "What happened after I passed out?" "The aliens retreated," Greg said. "All their ships left Earth's orbit. Your plan worked better than anyone expected. The nanites didn't just affect the consortium ships here. They sent some kind of signal to their home fleet." Dr. Alan Wright entered the room, looking tired but happy. "The greatest surprise in human history," he said. "The consortium sent a message this morning. They want to talk again, but this time as equals, not invaders." Susan looked at her hands. The skin seemed normal, but she could feel the nanites still inside her, waiting. "What did the nanites do to me?" "They changed your body chemistry," Alan explained. "You can now understand the aliens' language without any translation. You've become a bridge between our species, the first true human-alien diplomat. A nurse. Brought in a small TV and turned it on. The news showed people around the world celebrating. The alien ships were gone, and Earth was safe, at least for now." "The consortium has never retreated before," Greg said. "In all their history of taking over planets, no species has ever made them back down. Until humans." 1 week later, Susan stood on the same rooftop where she had first gone up to the alien ship. This time, a much smaller alien vessel descended. Only one alien emerged, a younger-looking one with lighter blue skin. "I am Subcommander Krelvox," the alien said in its own language, which Susan now understood perfectly. "I come with a new offer from the Galactic Consortium." "Earth is listening," Susan replied. "We have studied what happened," Krelvox said. "Your nanite technology is unlike anything we have seen. Your willingness to transform yourselves to protect your world is impressive." The alien handed Susan a small device that projected a new agreement. This one was different. It offered a true partnership. The consortium would share technology and knowledge. In return, Earth would share its unique adaptability and creativity. Humans are the first species to successfully resist us, Krelvox admitted. The consortium believes your people have much to teach us. As Susan read the new terms, she felt the nanites inside her respond to the aliens' presence. They weren't just a weapon, they were evolution. Humans had found a new way to adapt. We accept your offer of partnership, Susan said, but as equals, not subjects. As the alien and human shook hands, a human custom the alien had learned, both knew that the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage and the stars would hear their voice. The end.